Imagine this, you gain your independence. But the key to your economy, your very own currency, is controlled by your former colonizer from thousands of miles away. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is the reality for 14 African nations 60 years after their independence. This is the story of the CFA Franc, a financial instrument so controversial, it's been called the greatest colonial tax in history. Welcome to The Money Files. So what is the CFA Franc? Born in 1945, its name originally meant French African Colonial Franc. Today, it stands for African Financial Community Franc. But the system remains largely unchanged. There are actually two CFA francs, one for West Africa, used by 8 countries like Ivory Coast and Senegal, and another for Central Africa, used by 6 countries like Cameroon and Gabon. You can't even use one in the other's zone. Here's the first catch. Their value is pegged to the euro, not to the price of cocoa, oil, or their own economic growth, but to a European currency. This means the monetary policy for 180 million Africans is decided by the European Central Bank. And the second, most controversial rule? These countries are required to keep 50% of their foreign exchange reserves in a special account at the French Treasury in Paris, their own money held in another country's vaults. This system is built on 4 pillars. The critics say guarantee French influence. 1. The fixed peg. By pegging to the euro, the CFA franc is stable and strong. That sounds good, right? But it makes their exports more expensive and less competitive on the world market. It's like trying to sell your goods with a permanent handicap. 2. The French Treasury guarantee. France holds half their reserves as a guarantee. Proponents say this prevents inflation and provides stability, but opponents ask, stability for whom? It means African nations have less control over their own financial firepower for development. 3. French representation. France has a seat on the boards of both African central banks. They can influence monetary decisions, but have no obligation to prioritize African development. It's like having your landlord on your company's board of directors. 4. Free capital movement. This allows money to move freely between France and the CFA zone. For French companies, it's a dream. They can easily repatriate profits. But it also means African elites can easily move their wealth to French banks, a process known as capital flight, which starves local economies of investment. So, what's the argument for keeping this system? Supporters, often in European financial circles, point to low inflation and monetary stability. They argue it prevents reckless spending by African governments and fosters a predictable environment. But at what cost? Critics argue this stability is a straitjacket. It has stifled industrialization. Why build factories when your strong currency makes imports cheap and your exports expensive? Limited economic sovereignty. How can you have a truly independent economy when you don't control your own money? Perpetuated a neo-colonial relationship. The system ensures French economic and political influence remains dominant. French corporations continue to control key sectors like energy, transportation, and telecommunications in these countries. The pressure is building. For decades, activists, economists, and politicians have called the CFA franc a symbol of monetary slavery. In 2019, under immense public pressure, a major change was announced. France agreed to officially end the requirement to keep reserves in the French Treasury and officially remove itself from the central bank boards. The West African CFA franc was to be renamed the ECO. But here's the catch. The ECO will still be pegged to the euro. For many, this is just a rebranding of the same system. The core issue of a lack of independent monetary policy remains. So, is the CFA franc a necessary pillar of stability in volatile economies? Or is it the last vestige of colonial control, a mechanism that prevents true economic sovereignty and development? the debate is far from over. As Africa rises and demands a new place on the global stage, the future of its money will be at the very center of the struggle. What do you think? Is the CFA franc a stabilizing force or a colonial relic? Let us know in the comments below. If this video opened your eyes, hit that like button, subscribe to the Money Files for more untold stories, and ring the bell so you don't miss what's next. Thanks for watching.